guys, Jay here, welcome to Eons of Battle. I have been tinkering around with some Warhammer 40,000 army lists. These are lists that are not necessarily like proper armies, they're a little bit more skew list, but they've been rattling around in my head for so long, and I think they could really be something. Well, maybe two of them could really be something. One of them is a little bit sketchier, and that first one I have called Nice Wrack. And can you guess what it consists of? And no, this is not just because I happen to own 30 racks. This is an army list built all around the racks for the Drukhari. Racks are in a little bit of a tough place right now. Since the new codex, they did get better and cheaper, gaining 1 extra wound and a little bit better of an armor save, going from 6 up to 5 up. They lost their 5 up feel no pain, but overall their survivability has probably increased. And the homunculus, which is the hero that can attach to the racks, she can resurrect rack units over the course of the game. So there's a little something there. Unlike a lot of Drukhari units that are super squishy elves that hit like a truck, these guys are like slightly weaker space marines who can maybe kill 1 or 2 space marines a turn. But if you bring enough of them, there could be something. And weirdly, even though they're probably the worst thing in Drukhari right now, there's a lot of abilities and rules that you can stack on these guys, and I'm still not sure if it makes them better. This army list, the big thing, consists of 4 Venoms, and by Venoms I mean Raiders. 4 Raiders full of racks. The Raider special ability is actually specific for the racks. If they're shooting using the firing deck ability, and they're shooting with with anti-weapons, then those anti-weapons get reroll hits, which is actually kind of huge because like all rack guns are anti-infantry. And so getting full rerolls to shoot with 10 racks out this guy, that does help a lot. Like that doubles the damage output effectively. And then the detachment that I would actually take is not one of the racky ones, but it's actually Sky Splinter Assault, which is all about the transports. This can let me hop them out of a transport and then make a charge in the same turn that they disembarked. It has a really weird one where if I've got a bunch of racks in the transport and I charge into close combat, I can roll a d6 for each rack embarked within the Raider, and for every roll of a 4-up, I deal a mortal wound to my enemy up to a maximum of 6. Which is probably not that hard to do with 10 dice. Like that's kind of pretty good. That's like a fully loaded grenade stratagem. And then the Raider ability, if it is loaded up with racks, is that if you have a bunch of racks in there, they can punch alongside the Raider. Its weapon, which is hitting on 4, strength 6, I think AP 1, damage 1. It's D3 plus 3 attacks base. And then you add an extra 10 on top of that. You charge in, you do your big grenade belly flop, then you hit him with the 15 attacks. Like, it all starts to get a little sneaky. It all starts to get a little bit interesting. And maybe there is something to it. Nobody would see dozens and dozens of racks coming for a Drukhari army. I do want to see what it does. And Sky Splinter Assault does seem like a really, really good detachment to build around something like this. There's also a stratagem for if the enemy makes a normal move within 9 inches of one of my Raiders, it can just skedaddle. I can also give it a random 4-up invulnerable save, which is really good. But I don't know, like all of these things stacked together does make my guys quite a bit better. Also in Sky Splinter, when I hop my racks out and then they make a charge move in the same turn that they disembarked, if I use that stratagem, then they can have Lance on all of their weapons. +1 to wound, not super incredible because they have anti-infantry 4-up, but if I was going into Space Marines, then that could mean, because I've got +1 to wound, and then Lance also gives me +1 to wound so that they don't stack, but they could help me out if I was going into toughness 4 opponents, because I'm strength 4, and so against Space Marines I'd be wounding on 3s, which is pretty good. Like there's so many ways to juice the kind of really bad profile. I think it could be really cool and at least really fun to try out. I like racks a lot. I own 30, and actually I was doing some cleaning in my pile of shame. I actually found another box of racks. So I think I own 35 racks right now. But that's fine because I would have to put together a couple more Venoms, and by Venoms I mean Raiders, and so I would need a couple extra bodies to be more crew members. That is the big thing of this list. 10 squads of racks with attached homunculi in Raiders, but there is some more stuff to this army. I would be taking 1 squad of mandrakes and 2 scourges with heavy weapons, just to hopefully do secondary mission and maybe kill some vehicles because the racks are not gonna be doing it. But all of that combined is really only like 1,000 points of elves. The other half of this force would be 6 Kronos and 6 Talos, 3 2-man squads, absolutely maxing out on the Coven's units. I would definitely want to try this army out in Tabletop Simulator first, because putting together 12 of those big old guys would be an endeavor. And honestly, probably not that bad. Like, they're toughness 7, they got a bunch of wounds. Looking towards 11th edition, it looks like I'll be able to add a 1-point detachment that gives my Kronos and Talos a 5-up invulnerable save to go along with all of their other like save shenanigans. So I do think this army could be good. On paper, it's like fine. I like all of these different buffs stacked upon one another, I feel like brings it from a D to a C. Now, when I think about it a little bit harder, like everything else in the Drukhari Codex is an A, like Lilith Hesperex, Archons, Witches, Cabalites, Mandrakes, like all of those things are fantastic, where the Wrecks are really bad. But if you just go so hard into racks, I feel like there could be something there. Definitely gonna be trying out this force. Honestly, except for all the Talos and Kronos, I kinda have this army already. The only thing I would need is just to build 12 giant hulking monstrosities, and then I could be playing with Nice Wrack, the army. Honestly, half of the fun of putting together an army is just coming up with the name, and then if you take it to a tournament and you have to submit your list, and you submit your list and then they see the name, and then, you know, you see the name and you try to guess what am I about to see, and you're gonna see a lot of racks. I think this would be a lot of fun. The next army list that I've been tinkering around with in my head is called the Great Beast Snag. Any guesses on what this army is gonna be? I actually have 1 squad of Beast Snaggas, and they were a delight. I really had fun kit bashing, converting, and painting these guys. I love how they turned out. And that kind of got me thinking, I wouldn't mind 40 more of these guys. The big thing of this list is Beast Snaggas. These guys are the anti-monster and vehicle version of the orcs. And there's a lot of ways to make them really good. The orc detachment, the Big Hunt, gives me the ability to, at the top of every turn, I can pick an enemy unit, typically a monster or vehicle, and my whole Beast Snagga army gets +1 AP against that target. That actually juices the profiles of the Beast Snaggas a lot. And beast bosses get devastating wounds and anti-4-up against monsters and vehicles. So they can actually deal almost a guaranteed like 6 damage to any monster or vehicle. And that goes way higher when I'm like re-rolling hits or +1 to hit and getting +1 AP. So all of a sudden, I can kind of assume I can kill all of the big heavy things in my opponent's army. Maybe that's enough to just deal with my opponent's army. I've got 2 20-man squads of Beast Snaggas with attached beast bosses, and then I have 1 10-man squad with a beast boss. That's a really good amount of anti-vehicle, anti-monster, and kind of anti-anything, because Beast Snagga boys are just orc boys if they're just going into something normal, and so they're pretty good at killing infantry. 2 of the squads are being carried by Hunter Rigs, which are pretty darn good. I faced them in the on the battlefield before. When they charge in, they have an absurd number of pretty good attacks that would also enjoy going into vehicles. So 2 big 20-man blobs in Hunter Rigs. The 10-man squad with the Beast Boss is going in a Gargantuan Squigoth. The Gargantuan Squigoth, it's still supposedly sold on the Games Workshop web store. I looked it up the other day. It's been out of stock for maybe over a year at this point, but I clicked the notify me when this item comes back in stock because it actually seems really good. Toughness 13, 3-up save, 30 wounds, movement 10. That's actually really good. Hilariously, the Stompa is toughness 14 with a 2-up save instead of a 3-up, so it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better and 400 more points. The Gargantuan Squiggoth is only 440 points. And it's kind of good. With its huge tusks, it can either have 6 like mega las, oh my gosh, it's a mega las cannon. 6 attacks, strength 14, AP -3, damage 12. Damage flat 12. This guy can one-shot a rhino if just one of his attacks connect. It also has a sweep ability, which is 18 attacks of 923. So this guy could pick up a squad of Blade Guard veteran like it's nothing. Like, that's really good. 30 wounds, 3-up save is a little lame, but hopefully if I somehow play a little cagey and my opponent can't draw line of sight to the Gargantuan Squiggoth, hopefully the snagga boys could take out like gladiators or basilisks or things that would give me some trouble with my vehicles. And then the Gargantuan Squiggoth can just run amok. And if it ever needs help, the 10 guys on top can just hop out and hopefully contribute to the battle in some way. Like, that's pretty good. It seems like a really, really fun model to play with. I feel like it's kind of in a way better than a knight. And also it comes with the Super Cannon. The Super Cannon is 2d6 shots of strength 12, AP -2, damage 3. 2d6 means it could be 2, it could be 12, but it's hitting on 5s and 6s, or more likely 6s at all times, because it's an orc. That sounds like such a fun unit, backed up by a whole bunch of snagga boys who are like tailor-made to go alongside it. These guys are snakebitey. The Gargantuan Squiggoth is snakebitey. It's in a weird way like a Snakebites orc army, which is pretty cool. And then all of that stuff combined, 50 snagga boys, 3 beast bosses, the Hunter rigs, and the Gargantuan Squiggoth is not that many points. I was able to fit a lot more in here. I've got 2 10-man Luda squads. I feel like Ludas are very underrated. 100 points for 10 guys, all with the def guns and the, they're not combi scorches, the Spannas. Like, they can just pop up. I would leave them in strategic reserve, and then they would come in on the side, and then they just dump a whole bunch of their really, really good def gun attacks. Like, I think that could actually really do something. Then I've got a Shock Jump Dragsta and 2 squads of Storm Boys for doing secondary mission actions. And that's a ton. Like the Shock Jump Dragsta, if it advances, it can teleport anywhere on the board more than 9 inches away from enemy models. And then the Storm Boys just have really good movement in general. So like I feel like I could pretty comfortably, if my snaggas and Gargantuan Squiggoth are holding down the mid-board objectives, and then all of these other weird little things are scoring me the points. I kind of legitimately feel like this would be a pretty good army. I'm gonna have to play with it in Tabletop Simulator, and I really hope that there's a model available for the Gargantuan Squiggoth. There must be. If not, maybe I'll just, I'll take like 2 Imperial Knights and I'll just like stick them together, because that's about how big the Gargantuan Squiggoth is. But this list has actually got me really excited. I think that this would be a lot of fun. And just a board full of these spiky snaggas that are themed after the Buzzard Boys from Mad Max Fury Road. I think that would be really, really cool. I've got one more weird and wacky army list up my sleeves. But you know what else is up my sleeves? All of the amazing hobby products available from EonsOfBattle.com. Over there, we're all restocked on our excellent hobby goodies: Gamer Grass Tufts, Grey Tide Studio Bits for your Space Marines, Army Painter paints, brushes, basing cork, ultra thin and ultra thick super glue, and we've got terrain. It's the best way to support us doing what we do by getting a membership. Each month, members get a credit good for any one terrain pack I've ever made, or the brand new one. This June, we have created the Ramshackle Bits Pack. This set is full of improvised armor to enhance your vehicles, with massive treads, extra armor, rotating cannons, machine gun turrets, and little goblin gunners, including a bunch of little goblins to help keep all this upgraded equipment running smoothly. Don't let the shoddy construction fool you. These bits are plenty lethal, able to sling lead and crush foes under tread. This set also comes with a series of basing bits to litter your wasteland of your battlefield. This set was designed by us and is available at EonsOfBattle.com. Remember when I said the last list is actually probably pretty good? So this next list is called A Bunch of Sticky Terminators. If you like Terminators, and I am a Terminator connoisseur, I love Terminators, Death Guard is kind of your faction because they come with 2 flavors of Terminators, the Death Shroud and the Blight Lord. And then they have 3 different Terminator characters that can attach into these squads. And so there's so many options. You can get so many Terminators. You can actually very reasonably take an army of only Terminators. A bunch of sticky Terminators. Number one, they're sticky because they're Death Guard Terminators, but they're also sticky because in the detachment, Flyborn Host, I think it is, you can give all of your Death Guard infantry models, which Terminators are, sticky objectives, which I think is mission critical for playing a very low model count army. I believe this would be 36 miniatures, almost all of those Terminators. The only thing that wouldn't be Terminators is I am taking 2 Fetid Bloat drones, just because I need something to be able to scoot around the board and score secondary mission objectives. And those guys are decently quick and speedy and somewhat tanky, so I think that they would be able to do that while the rest of my army is running around as Terminators. But 36 miniatures is not really enough to hold down every objective on the board, and so I'm hoping that sticky will mean that I can tag objectives and then move off of them to continue trying to deal with my opponent's army. But Death Guard Terminators are so much better than regular Terminators, because Terminators are toughness 5. Death Guard Terminators are toughness 7. Toughness 7 is a lovely breakpoint. Most of the it's almost essentially -1 to be wounded army wide. And then if I'm making good use of cover in 11th edition, I'll have -1 to be hit. I've got a 2-up, 4-up invulnerable save. Like all of a sudden it gets really, really spicy, and Death Shrouds have 4 wounds and Blight Lords have 3 wounds. And Death Guard Terminators are a little wonky. The Death Shroud Terminators, they have flamethrower wrist guns and they have the Man Reaper scythes, which are incredible. And then the Death Shroud Terminators actually come with a bunch of pretty good guns. Terminators historically don't shoot well. If you're a vanilla Terminator, you just get a Stormbolter, which is just 2 Space Marine bolters taped together. These guys get a whole bunch of pretty decent blast guns in the Plague Spewer and the Blight Launcher. And with the attached Lords of Virulence, they can have rerolling wounds on all of these attacks. Like all of a sudden, that gets pretty spicy. The Lord of Virulence also has an ability where whatever unit he shot at, he can mark that target to give everybody else, was it +1 AP or was it reroll 1s to hit? It was something. But you can make overlapping fields of fire with all of these different Terminator weapons, and it starts to get a little interesting. It's a lot of Terminators. It's 3 squads of Death Shroud Terminators with attached Lords of Contagion. Lords of Contagion currently don't have a model. It came out in the old Death Guard versus Ultramarines box from a bajillion years ago, but I've got one of the models and I could easily kit bash 2 more with some Terminator bodies. And it's really, really good. Because those guys, they give Lance and they also give sustained hits 1. Death Shroud Terminators already have lethal hits on their sides, and they have a strike and a sweep profile along with the Lord of Contagion. So all of a sudden, I've got 2 different profiles. One of them is like 17 attacks that are very good and strong and powerful with good AP and good damage. Their sweep profile makes it that I'm getting like 34 attacks per brick of guy. So whether I'm going into Horde infantry or I'm going into like tougher Space Marines and vehicles, they should really be able to do some damage. And I got 3 squads of these things. 3 absolute Death Star units backed up by 20 Blight Lord Terminators that are shooting and scooting. They don't have shoot and scoot the rule, but that's what they'll be doing. They'll be doing their 4 inches of movement and then shooting their big old plague guns. I think that this list would be really, really cool. 2 of the 5-man squads of Blight Lord Terminators are backed up by a Lord of Contagion, or a Lord of Virulence, and then 1 10-man brick that is just the boys. They don't have an attached character. I couldn't afford it. I wanted to attach Typhus to them, but I couldn't make it work at 2,000 points. So it's just gonna be a naked 10-man brick of Terminators just wandering around. I think what I would try to do with them is just slam them into the scariest thing in my opponent's army and hopefully just gum up their entire battle plan. because good luck chewing through all of those Terminators. Like Terminators aren't unkillable, but you take like 150 wounds of toughness 7 for a 2-up, 4-up. All of a sudden, I feel like it could really be something. I like my Death Guard army. I am this close to essentially finishing my Death Guard army, having 2,000 playable points of a very reasonable list full of a bunch of different stuff like Mortarion and tons of Plague Marines and Poxwalkers and Rhinos and all of the normal things that should be in an army. But I do have these 2 boxes of Terminators, and all I would need is like 4 more to make this entire army. It's really juicy, literally, because it's the Death Guard. I think this would be a really fun army. I would love to see how it plays. I have been very disappointed in Loyalist vanilla Space Marine Terminators. They're just kind of fine. It's like 180 points for guys who don't shoot very well, and they do punch fairly decently with their power fists, but these guys are just better. Toughness 7, army-wide, with the normal benefits to playing Death Guard. I've got my contagion range. I can make my opponent -1 to their saving throws. I'm thinking Flyborn Host for the sticky objectives. I think that is gonna be mission critical, but there is another detachment that can give me stealth on all of my infantry units, which is also Death Guard, or which is also Terminator infantry. So if the Flyborn Host turns out to not be that big a deal with the sticky objectives, I might switch to that one to have automatic stealth for -1 to be hit on all of my models. But I also kind of like the fun of the name. A bunch of sticky Terminators who are sticky because they're icky, and they're sticky because they have sticky objectives. That just really makes me smile. I think that this would be a really, really fun army, and I can't wait to try it out in Tabletop Simulator. Whenever I have silly ideas like this, probably not best to spend an entire year building up a bunch of models to play a meme list. It's probably better to try that out on the computer. But I legitimately think the snagga list would be pretty good. I can see in my mind's eye that list acting, and it would be able to do all the things you need to do in a game of 40K, where the Rack City list and this list probably wouldn't be able to play a really good game of 40K, but it would be a really fun game of 40K. If you guys have any silly army ideas that have been kicking around in your head, please leave them in the comments below. I have had a ton of fun math hammering and list building, and you know what? I might do a little more. Thanks for watching.